Warning. The program you're about to watch contains explicit language and descriptions of adult themes and graphic violence that people may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Mira left once again. 5 hours of travel brought her to a bustling city, its towering buildings and crowded streets a perfect place to disappear. A large population meant anonymity, and that was exactly what she needed. She found a small apartment, secured a modest job, and tried to build a new life, one that felt normal, even if it was only on the surface. Some days, she managed. Others, the nights felt endless, filled with quiet sobs as thoughts of Kajito haunted her. No matter how far she went, the past still clung to her. It seems the further she goes, the closer she gets back to Kajito. One afternoon, the city was alive with movement. Merchants shouted their wares, carriages weaved through the streets, and laughter echoed between stone buildings. Mira walked among the crowd, lost in her thoughts, when a sudden commotion caught her eye. A small child, no older than 5, chased after a rolling toy, straight into the path of a speeding carriage. Before Mira could react, a man lunged forward, grabbing the child and pulling him to safety just in time. The horses reared, the carriage skidding to a halt a few feet ahead. "Hey! Watch where you're going, assholes!" the man shouted, still holding the shaken child. 2 men stepped out of the carriage, their faces twisted with irritation. One of them took a step forward, his tone sharp. "What did you just say? You almost ran over a kid," the rescuer replied, standing his ground. The other man scoffed. "And what's it to you?" From a distance, the child's mother frantically waved him over. He ran to her, burying himself in her embrace. "Just slow down around here," the rescuer continued, voice firm. "There are kids playing." "And if we don't?" one of the men challenged. "Just leave," the rescuer said, his tone unwavering. A fist flew. The rescuer staggered back as the first punch landed, and before he could recover, the 2 men jumped him. Fists swung. Boots slammed into ribs, and the crowd hesitated, watching in uncertain silence. Mira didn't think. She reacted. "Hey! Stop it!" she shouted, pushing her way toward the fight. The men hesitated for a moment, their eyes flicking to her. Then, without a word, they turned and walked away, leaving the rescuer bruised but standing. Mira took a breath, heart pounding. Normal life never lasted long. The rescuer pushes himself back up, wiping his bloodied lip with the back of his hand. "Are you okay?" Mira asks, stepping forward. He nods, but she can see the pain in his expression. She pulls a small handkerchief from her side and hands it to him. He hesitates, then takes it. "I will be," he mutters. As he presses the cloth to his lip, his gaze drifts to Mira's face. He pauses, captivated by her striking green eyes. The moment stretches between them until she clears her throat. "Okay then," she says, shifting her weight. Jarek snaps back to reality. "Thanks for stepping in. I saw what you did. That was honorable." He shrugs. "Oh." Mira frowns. "Why would they attack you for helping a kid?" Jarek lets out a short, humorless laugh. "That's city life for you." She studies him for a second. "We've been talking, and I don't even know your name." "I'm Jarek." "Mira?" Mira says. He nods. "Nice meeting you, Mira." His eyes linger on hers again, but this time she looks away. "I should go," she says. Jarek hesitates, then blurts, "Can I take you for a soda?" Mira considers this, her lips pressing together. Then she exhales. "Okay." They walk together, Jarek holding her cloth against his lip. After a beat of silence, he glances at her. "Don't take this the wrong way, but you don't look like a city girl." Mira arches a brow. "Oh, and what do I look like? A small-town girl." She smirks. "You're very observant." They reach a small diner, stepping inside. The scent of sizzling burgers and fresh coffee fills the air. They slide into a booth, order their sodas, and settle in. "So tell me about yourself," Jarek says. Mira leans back. "Well, I just moved here a few weeks ago. That's probably why I still have that small-town girl look." Jarek chuckles. "I needed a change," she continues. "Wanted to get away from small-town drama. Now I'm here, working in the city." Jarek nods. I've lived here my whole life. It's chaotic, but I like the craziness. He pauses, then adds, I work for a woman who claims to be a witch. Mira tilts her head. Witches? In the city? He grins. You'd be surprised at the kind of people you find here. She watches him, trying to gauge if he's joking. Before she can press further, he leans forward slightly. Do you live alone? She narrows her eyes. Why? Are you plotting something? Jarek laughs. No, nothing like that. Just a roundabout way of asking if you have a boyfriend or a husband. Mira hesitates. I live alone. His face brightens slightly. Me too. The excitement in his tone makes her uneasy. She shifts in her seat. I really should go, she says, grabbing her bag. Jarek watches her for a moment, then nods. Okay, can we talk again sometime? I don't know. He reaches for a napkin, scribbles something down, and slides it across the table. If you change your mind. Mira stares at the napkin for a moment before picking it up. She folds it neatly, slipping it into her pocket. Good day, Jarek. With that, she walks out, leaving him watching after her. Mira takes the napkin with a small, appreciative nod, slipping it into her jacket pocket. She pulls the jacket on and glances at Jarek. See you later, he says. Mira offers a faint smile before stepping outside. The air is crisp, and as she walks home, memories creep into her mind. Her conversation with Jarek had stirred something inside her, something she thought she had buried long ago. What's wrong with you, Mira? She wonders. She wipes at her eyes, frustrated with herself. Time to let go. She busies herself with small tasks around her apartment, anything to keep her mind from drifting back to what could have been. The next day. After work, Mira reaches into her jacket pocket and pulls out the napkin. She unfolds it and reads the address scribbled on it. It's close. Before she can overthink it, she makes up her mind. She's going. When she arrives at Jarek's door, she hesitates for only a second before knocking. A moment later, the door swings open, and Jarek blinks in surprise. Mira! Hey, she says, offering a small wave. I was nearby, so I thought I'd drop by. Hope that's okay. Not at all. I was hoping you would, Jarek says, stepping aside. Come in. Mira nods and steps inside, taking in the space. It's small but warm, lived in, the kind of place that holds quiet stories in its corners. I don't have wine or alcohol, but do you soda? Jarek asks. Sure. He grabs 2 cans from the fridge, handing her one. Come, sit. Mira follows him to the kitchen table, settling into the chair across from him. She glances around again, taking in the little details. Books stacked on the counter, a coat draped over a chair. You've got a cozy place, she says. Thanks. It's not much, but it's home. A beat of silence lingers before Jarek leans forward. Hey, I have an errand to run for that lady I told you about. Want to come? Mira arches a brow. The witch? Jarek grins. Yeah, that one. You got time? She hesitates for only a moment before shrugging. Sure. Jarek stands, and Mira follows him to the door. Before they step out, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a neatly folded piece of cloth. Oh, here. Your cloth. I washed it. Mira shakes her head. Keep it. Jarek studies her for a second, then nods and tucks it back into his pocket. The streets are buzzing with life as they make their way to a tucked-away shop. When they step inside, the scent of herbs, incense, and something metallic fills the air. Strange trinkets, jars of dried plants, and artifacts line the shelves. Jarek moves with purpose, picking up a few items and placing them on the counter. That'll do, he says, exchanging coins with the shopkeeper. Once outside, he glances at Mira. Come on, let's get a carriage. He whistles, and within seconds, a horse-drawn carriage pulls up. The driver eyes them both before tipping his hat. They hop in. The carriage rumbled down the cobbled road. Mira peered out the window, her eyes widening as the driver pulled on the reins. Where to? The driver asked. To the Alexandria mansion, Jarek instructed. Mira's eyes widen hearing the name. The coachman hesitated. Are you sure? Yes. Jarek's voice was firm. The driver turned the carriage around without another word. They rode in silence for a time, the city streets growing quieter as they neared the mansion's district. Then, abruptly, the carriage slowed to a stop. Jarek frowned. We're not there yet. This is as far as I go, the coachman said, his voice low. They say she's a witch, you know. Jarek sighed and tossed him a few coins. Fine. As the carriage turned and disappeared into the mist, Mira and Jarek continued on foot. The closer they got, the heavier the air seemed, thick with the scent of damp earth and old stone. They reached an iron gate, its bars laced with vines. Jarek knelt by a large clay pot near the entrance, retrieving a small rusted key. He unlocked the gate with a quiet click and pushed it open. The moment Mira stepped inside, a shiver ran down her spine. Something about this place felt wrong. Jarek led the way up the stone path, his boots crunching against fallen leaves. He knocked on the towering wooden door. A moment later, a voice rasped from the other side. "Who is it?" "It's me, your delivery boy." The door creaked open, revealing the dimly lit interior. They stepped inside, the scent of burning incense curling around them. A woman in a flowing dark gown strode toward them, her movements slow and deliberate. She was striking, tall, elegant, with piercing golden eyes that shimmered in the candlelight. "Did you bring what I asked for?" she asked. Jarek pulled a bundle from his coat. "Here." As she approached, the woman didn't take it. She walked past him as if he weren't there, her eyes locked on Mira. She circled her slowly, head tilted in silent study. Mira stiffened under the scrutiny. Jarek cleared his throat. "She's—" The woman lifted a hand, silencing him without a word. She took a step closer to Mira. "There's sadness in your eyes," she murmured. Mira swallowed, unsure how to respond. "There's something familiar about you." Jarek shifted uncomfortably. "Cassandra, we should really be going." Cassandra finally stepped back, a knowing smile playing at her lips. "Of course." She gestured toward a nearby table. "Leave the items there." Jarek placed the bundle down, then moved toward the door, opening it for Mira. As Mira stepped outside, Cassandra's voice followed her into the night. "I'll see you later, Mirakol." Mira froze, once outside. Jarek glanced at her. "You never told her your name." Mira's heart pounded. "I know." Jarek studied her. "Your full name is Mirakol?" Mira hesitated. "Yes. What's your last name?" She turned away slightly. "Ellie." She caught herself. "Kayoza." Jarek narrowed his eyes. "Mirakol Kayoza, huh?" "Yes," she said, the lie slipping from her lips as easily as breath. Mira shuddered as the woman's words echoed in her mind. There was something off about her, something unnatural. "I told you she's a witch," Jarek muttered beside her. His voice was low, almost cautious. Mira swallowed, nodding slightly. "Come on, let's get out of here." Jarek grabbed her hand, leading her back toward the city. The streets were quieter now, the glow of lanterns casting long shadows against the stone walls. When they reached Mira's apartment, Jarek hesitated at her door. "Hey," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "Can I take you on a real date?" Mira blinked, caught off guard. Sure." His lips curled into a grin. "Tomorrow night? 7?" She smiled. "Okay. Great." Jarek nodded, then turned to leave. Mira watched him disappear into the night before closing the door behind her. The next evening. At exactly 6:55 p.m., a knock sounded at Mira's door. She took a deep breath before opening it. Jarek stood there, momentarily speechless. His gaze roamed over her, her elegantly styled hair, the way the soft fabric of her dress caught the light. For a second, he looked almost nervous. Then, with a small smile, he held out a single rose. "For you." Mira accepted it with a soft, "Thank you," warmth creeping into her chest. They stepped into a waiting carriage that carried them to a quiet, candlelit restaurant. Seated at a cozy table by the window, Jarek took a moment to admire her. "Did I tell you that you look beautiful?" "Not yet." "Well, you're beautiful," he said simply. Mira glanced down, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Thanks." As they placed their orders, Jarek leaned forward slightly. "You have the prettiest green eyes I've ever seen," he said. Mira looked away, heat rushing to her cheeks. "Thank you." Their food arrived, and they fell into comfortable conversation between bites. "How's your food?" Jarek asked. "Delicious. Yours?" He smirked. "Tastes better with you sitting across from me." Mira rolled her eyes, but she couldn't stop the small smile that tugged at her lips. Then, after a pause, she asked, "So, how did you meet Cassandra?" Jarek's expression shifted, his usual confidence giving way to something quieter. He set his fork down, staring at the flickering candlelight. "After my parents died, I was lost. I never got to say goodbye." His voice was softer now, edged with something deeper. "Then I heard about Cassandra, about how she could bring back the dead, just for a few minutes." Mira's breath hitched. "Did it really work?" Jarek exhaled, nodding. "To me, it did. I got to see them, to say what I never had the chance to." He looked at her then, his eyes unreadable. That was all that mattered. Mira studied him, a strange mix of curiosity and unease settling in her chest. "Ever since then, I've been helping her. She gave me closure, and I owe her for that." A small smirk returned to his lips. Plus, she pays well. Mira huffed a quiet laugh. I see. As the evening came to an end, Jarek walked her back to her apartment. The night air was cool, the city unusually still. At her door, Mira turned to face him. Thanks for tonight. I had a great time. Me too. He hesitated for just a second, then gave her a small nod before stepping back. There's a brief silence before Mira takes a step toward the door. Good night, she says. Jarek hesitates. Then before she can go inside, he asks, Mira, do you like me? She turns back to him, tilting her head slightly. Of course, otherwise I wouldn't have gone out with you. Jarek nods, but something lingers in his expression. He takes a small step forward. Mira instinctively moves back. Her shoulders stiffen, her hands subtly clenching. Her body language signaled unwanted attention. Noticing her reaction, he stops. A flicker of disappointment crosses his face before he exhales and turns away. Good night, Mira, he says before walking off into the night. Mira stands there for a moment, watching his retreating figure. Then she sighs and enters her apartment. She heads to the bathroom, flicking on the light. Staring at herself in the mirror, she traces a finger along her jawline. What am I doing? She wonders. Her mind still stuck on Kajito. She takes a deep breath, shakes her head, and begins to unwind for the night. The next day, Mira moves through her usual routine, keeping busy, keeping thoughts at bay. Then, an unexpected knock on the door. She opens it to find Jarek standing there, hands in his pockets. Oh, hi, she says, surprised. Care to have dinner with me? He asks, his tone light but searching. I'm not ready, she admits. It's okay, he says with a small smile. Just some street food. She hesitates, then nods. Oh, okay then. They walk together to a nearby food stall, the evening air carrying the scent of grilled meat and spices. They sit down with their food, the city buzzing quietly around them. Jarek glances at her. Were you feeling okay yesterday? Mira pauses mid-bite. Yeah, why? You just seemed distant. She lowers her gaze, chewing slowly. Oh, maybe it's just me then, he says, attempting a chuckle. No, she says, setting her food down. It's me. A long pause. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. Jarek watches her, waiting. Then, softly, she asks, Do you believe in curses? His eyebrows lift slightly. Yeah, I think there's such a thing. Anything's possible. He takes a bite of his food, then adds, I mean, I've talked with my dead parents before. Jarek grins. Why? Are you cursed? Mira hesitates. For a moment she seems like she might say something, but then she shakes her head. No, just making conversation. They finish their food in comfortable silence. Then, as they start walking, Jarek suddenly asks, Hey, can I show you something? Depends. Is it disgusting? Mira asks, repeating something she once heard. Jarek laughs. No, definitely not. They walk a few blocks until they reach a massive water fountain in the heart of the city. The cascading water glows under the streetlights. This is the center of the city, Jarek says. Mira looks around. It's nice. They stand there for a moment, the cool mist from the fountain drifting through the air. Then, Jarek turns toward her, reaching up to touch her face. Mira instinctively catches his hand, stopping him. Their eyes lock. The moment lingers. I should go, she whispers, slowly releasing his hand. She turns to leave, but Jarek grabs her hand again. This time, his grip is gentle but firm. I'm in love with you, he confesses. Mira looks at him, sadness flickering in her gaze. I can't, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. Jarek's brow furrows. What do you mean? She hesitates, then exhales shakily. I'm cursed, Jarek frowns. Mira, I'm destined to be alone, she continues. You said you believed in curses, right? I was born under the Death Star. Everyone I love dies. Jarek searches her face, trying to understand. Then, after a moment, he says quietly, Eventually we all die. Mira tugs her hand free. I'm sorry, she murmurs before turning and walking away, leaving Jarek standing there, confused, heartbroken, and alone. That night, Mira cried herself to sleep. Her curse and Kajito passed through her thoughts. The next day, a sharp knock on her door startled her. She hesitated before opening it, revealing Jarek standing there, his expression urgent. What are you so afraid of? He asked, stepping inside without waiting for permission. Mira instinctively backed away. I'm afraid for you, she whispered. I don't want you to die. Jarek's gaze softened. I'm not afraid of dying, not if it means loving you. He took a step closer. Mira, I want to be with you. Don't, Jarek, she warned, but he kept moving forward. Don't come any closer, she said, raising her hands as if to shield herself. Jarek reached out, trying to hold her, but she deftly avoided his grasp, gently pushing him aside. He blinked in surprise at her quick reflexes. Turning back to her, he asked, "Do you love me?" Mira shook her head. "I like you, but I can't love you. Because of your curse? Yes." "I told you, I don't care about that," he said, his voice filled with determination. "You don't understand," Mira murmured. "Then make me understand," Jarek urged. Mira hesitated, her eyes searching his. Then she blurted out, "Kajito." Jarek frowned. "What?" "I don't expect you to understand," she said, looking away. "Whatever it is, I'm willing to face it with you," he insisted. She gave him a sad smile. "That's why I like you. You have honor and you care. But it's not your fault. My heart won't let me." Jarek exhaled, his shoulders slumping. "Okay, I won't push you anymore. We can just be friends," she offered. "I wish you'd consider me as more than that," he admitted, frustration creeping into his voice. Without another word, he turned and walked away. Mira sighed, guilt settling in her chest, but as days passed without seeing him, she found life became easier. Then one day she bumped into him. "Oh, hi," she said, startled. "Hey, Mira," he replied. "Haven't seen you in a while," she noted. "Yeah, I've been busy," he said, his tone casual. A young Asian woman approached and slid her arm through Jarek's. "Hi, Han," she greeted him warmly. Jarek glanced at Mira. "Oh, this is Mira, a friend of mine. Mira, this is Tayade." "Nice to meet you," Tayade said, her voice bright with joy. Mira smiled. "Nice to meet you, too. I was going to tell you." Jarek started. "You don't need to explain," Mira interrupted gently. Tayade bounced on her feet, holding onto Jarek's shoulder. "Hey, let's go get some food," Jarek chuckled. Okay. Then she looked at Mira. "Mira, was it? Want to join us?" Tayade asked, her enthusiasm infectious. Mira hesitated, but found herself smiling. "Sure," she said. The three walk up to a street food stall, the air thick with the scent of sizzling meat and spices. Tayade steps forward to place her order, her energy infectious as she moves around Jarek, nudging and poking him playfully while they wait. Mira watches with an amused smile. "I'll go find us a spot. You grab our food," Tayade says with excitement before skipping off. Jarek watches her go, shaking his head with a chuckle. "I see why you like her," Mira says. "Yeah, she's lively," Jarek replies with a small grin. They grab their food and follow after Tayade, who waves them over to a table. "Over here," she calls. The moment she takes her first bite, she closes her eyes and does a little dance of delight. "Sometimes street food is the best," she declares. Mira pauses, the words striking a familiar chord. She exhales slowly. "That line brings back memories of Kajito. I've heard that before," she says. Tayade perks up. "Oh, yeah? Well, they're not wrong," she laughs, taking another bite. Mira watches her closely, something unsettled stirring in her chest. They finish their food, and Jarek gathers their trash, tossing it into a nearby bin. As Mira adjusts her cloak, Tayade's gaze falls on the small amulet resting against her collarbone. "That's a nice amulet," Tayade remarks. Mira instinctively reaches up, fingers brushing over the pendant Saju had given her. "Thank you," she says. Tayade grins, tugging a similar necklace from beneath her shirt. "I got something kinda like it." Mira's breath catches. Her gaze locks onto the pendant, her heart hammering in her chest. The design, the intricate carvings, it's almost identical. "Where did you get yours?" Tayade asks, oblivious to Mira's sudden tension. Mira hesitates before answering. "A friend of mine." Tayade hums in thought, tilting her head. "Huh, that's funny. It looks a lot like mine." Mira swallows hard. Before she can press further, Jarek steps in. "What are you two talking about?" he asks. Tayade shrugs. "Necklaces. Girl stuff." Then, with a burst of energy, she tugs on Jarek's sleeve. "Let's go see what's over there." Mira forces a smile, but her mind is racing. "I should probably get back home," she says. Tayade pouts. "Are you sure you can't join us?" "I have some responsibilities to take care of," Mira lies. "Okay, we'll see you later." Tayade chirps, already dragging Jarek along. Jarek glances back. "I'll see you later." Mira nods, watching as they walk away, their fingers intertwined. Tayade tugs him down, pressing a quick kiss to his lips. Mira exhales, but the tightness in her chest doesn't fade. Just as she turns to leave, Tayade suddenly gasps. "Oh, I forgot my drink." She dashes back to the table, grabbing the cup she left behind. But instead of rushing off immediately, she pauses, looking at Mira with curiosity. "Tayade," Mira says carefully, her voice almost hesitant. "What's your last name?" Tayade blinks. "Kayoza." Mira stiffens. Tayade waves. "See ya." Then she rushes back to Jarek, completely unaware of the storm she's just set off. Mira stands frozen, her mind reeling. She watches them disappear into the crowd, her vision blurring. She touches her amulet again, fingers trembling. Taede Kayoza. Mira whispers to herself. It made Mira miss Kajito even more. After watching their love on display, she turns and heads home, but the memories won't leave her alone. No matter how hard she tries, they keep pulling her back. A few days later, Jarek knocks on Mira's door. She opens it cautiously, her expression unreadable. Hey, Jarek says, rubbing the back of his neck. Are you mad at me? Mira shakes her head. No, I'm happy for you. He exhales, relieved. Good. Listen, is this okay with Taede? Yeah, she's cool with it, Jarek assures her. Actually, she wanted me to invite you to dinner tonight, at my place. Mira hesitates. Maybe I shouldn't. Just as friends, he adds quickly. She studies him for a moment before nodding. All right, just as friends. Great. See you tonight, Jarek says before heading off. That evening, Mira arrives at Jarek's home. When he opens the door, Taede is already inside, smiling brightly. Oh, hey, you made it! Taede exclaims. Come in, the food's almost ready, just putting on the finishing touches. Jarek gestures toward the dining table. Sit, I'll serve. He picks up a plate, ready to serve Taede first, but she stops him with a playful but firm tone. No, serve your guest first. Jarek pauses before redirecting the serving spoon toward Mira's plate. It's fine, really, Mira insists. Taede waves a hand dismissively. Don't be silly, he should know better. Jarek sets the food in front of Mira, then serves Taede and finally himself. Don't be shy, dig in, Taede says, taking a bite and wiggling her shoulders in delight. Mira can't help but smile at the sight. The three of them settle into light conversation as they eat. This is delicious, Taede praises. She turns to Mira. So, Jarek tells me you're a Kayoza too? Mira's fork hesitates midway to her lips. She starts. Taede tilts her head, waiting. How did you inherit the name? You don't look like a typical Kayoza. A long pause. Then Mira exhales. Caught in her lie, she confesses. I didn't. I'm actually not a Kayoza. Jarek freezes, staring at her. Oh? Taede's voice is soft but sharp. So what is your last name? Mira feels their eyes pressing in on her. The weight of their expectations, their curiosity. It all feels suffocating. Finally, she answers. Alexandria. Silence. Jarek blinks in shock. Wait, so the Alexandria mansion belongs to you? Mira shakes her head quickly. No, it must have belonged to my ancestors or distant relatives. Jarek's mind races. Then Cassandra. Is she in Alexandria too? I don't know, Mira says, avoiding his gaze. Taede is quiet now, her once bright demeanor darkening. She eats in silence, eyes fixed on Mira, studying her. Jarek clears his throat. How about dessert? Yes, Taede says, her gaze never leaving Mira. Mira forces a nod. Sure. Jarek disappears into the kitchen. The moment he's gone, Taede leans forward slightly. I know our history, she says, voice quiet but firm. The air thickens. It's not what you think, Mira says quickly. I'm not like the others. Taede narrows her eyes. And how exactly are you different? Mira struggles for words. Jarek returns, breaking the moment. He places a dessert plate in front of Mira first. Guest first, he says with a small smile. Thank you, Mira murmurs, relieved for the distraction. Jarek serves Taede next. The tension lingers as they eat. Taede and Mira exchange glances between bites, neither willing to look away for too long. When they finish, Mira places her fork down. I should get going. Jarek frowns. Are you sure? You can't stay a little longer. Before Mira can answer, Taede interjects. No, she has responsibilities to take care of, she says smoothly. Mira looks at her but says nothing. All three walk to the door. As Jarek starts gathering the dishes, Taede turns to Mira. Jarek, why don't you clean up? Mira and I need to have a little girl-to-girl talk. Jarek hesitates, glancing between them. Right, Mira? Taede says, her tone leaving no room for argument. Mira swallows hard. Yes. Jarek sighs. All right, see you later, Mira. Mira nods. Taede smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. The door closes behind them. The girls stepped out into the open night. Taede walked ahead, leading Mira to a secluded area away from prying eyes. When they reached a clearing, Taede turned sharply, her gaze intense. Mira stopped a few feet away, sensing the tension in the air. Show me what you got, witch! Taede challenged, her voice laced with anticipation. Mira exhaled, shaking her head. I don't want to fight. But Taede wasn't going to wait. She muttered an incantation under her breath, magic crackling at her fingertips before she launched the first attack. A bolt of energy shot toward Mira, who reacted instinctively, raising a hand to cast a defensive spell. The magic collided midair, dispersing into glowing embers. Without hesitation, Taedi rushed forward, closing the distance between them. Mira dodged, weaving away from her strikes while keeping her defenses up. Their battle unfolded in a flurry of spellwork and counterattacks, Taedi relentlessly pressing forward, Mira deflecting and avoiding every hit with practiced precision. Sparks of magic illuminated the night as the two clashed. Taedi hurled another blast at Mira. Mira countered with a well-timed spell, redirecting the attack harmlessly to the side. Then, in a swift motion, she seized an opening. Mira lunged forward, throwing a punch that halted just inches from Taedi's face. Taedi's eyes widened in surprise. She shoved Mira's fist away, but before she could retaliate, Mira struck. The impact sent Taedi stumbling backward, her footing lost as she hit the ground. Gritting her teeth, Taedi tried to rise, but Mira was already in position. A charged spell glowed at her fingertips, aimed directly at Taedi from point-blank range. Both of them were panting, their breaths heavy from the fight. Taedi looked up, realizing there was no way to dodge, but before she could prepare for the worst, Mira's magic faded. She lowered her hands, stepping back. "Why spare me?" Taedi asked, still catching her breath. Mira's expression was calm, resolute. "Because I'm putting an end to this hatred between Alexandria and Kaioza," she said. "Saju Kaioza and I have made a pact. Anyone who threatens either side will be stopped. He gave me this amulet. Why should I trust you? For all I know, you could have killed a Kaioza for that." Taedi said, "Believe what you want. I'm not a murderous thief." Taedi studied her, the pieces finally clicking. "Then why use our name as yours?" Mira's voice softened. "Because my first and last love was a Kaioza." A beat of silence passed between them. Taedi nodded, understanding now. "Let's keep this between us. Jarek doesn't need to know," she said. Mira held her gaze for a moment, then nodded. "Agreed." A small smirk tugged at Taedi's lips. She stands up, dusting herself off. "Mira, you hit like a bull." Mira let out a quiet chuckle, the tension easing just slightly. Together they turned and walked back toward the house. When they arrived, Jarek glanced up, sensing something had transpired. "Everything okay?" he asked, his eyes shifting between the two. Taedi flashed a casual smile. "Yep, just a little heart-to-heart talk." Mira said nothing, but a faint, knowing smile played on her lips. End of Part 5. To be continued.